star of professional wrestling, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. This is Wrestling is for Losers, a podcast that's not fake, it's predetermined.
What's up, losers? It's me, Shoe Boots, and we are back from Las Vegas, Nevada, where not 24 hours ago, the T-Mobile Arena was covered in blood, tacks, and guitar splinters. But tonight we're going to dig deep into the experience of attending AEW Double or Nothing 2023 and tell Lame Tex what it's like because he didn't go. But first, let me introduce my co-hosts. My traveling buddy. He hasn't watched wrestling in 30 years, but he has seen Double or Nothing in person. It's Coltrane.
Hey, Boots. Now, Shoe Boots and I attended last night, and we screamed our heads off.
Yeah.
And I've lost my voice, but as long as I stay low, but if I get up into the little bit higher, it's a bit like this. So I'm gonna try when we speak. I'm gonna try and keep it low as I can. Throughout the show, so I don't end up like this for the entire episode.
Right.
So it should be, other than that, we should be fine. But yeah, it was amazing. I can't wait to dive into it and get into everything, Double or Nothing and AEW. It was great.
Yeah, my voice is pretty scratchy too. Kind of like you. When I focus, I can kind of keep it at bay, but I'm sure I'll forget to focus throughout this episode, and we'll see what happens.
Exactly.
All right. And last but certainly least, we have our WWE shill who couldn't be bothered to be with his friends. It is Texas Crazy Horse. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Don't worry. My voice is fine. Turns out you don't really lose your voice from booing the whole lot. So we're good. We're good. I'm trying to figure a way to get my $50 back. I might have to cut that loss. But I'm excited. I'm excited to tell you why this card was awful.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God. Oh,
Wow.
my God.
All right.
Jeez Louise.
Woo-wee.
Tex.
Right. I mean, the gauntlet's thrown. Like right out of the gate. Like, bam, right there.
Yeah.
In the intro.
Now, Tex, just to break down the fourth wall a bit, I just noticed you're coming a little quieter than you did during sound check, so I don't know if you're further away from your mic or not, but not terribly, but just a heads up. And Kale Queen is in the chat for those in the pre-show who were wondering. We thought you were asleep, Kale Queen. All right. Well, folks, this is not a regular episode. For those of you that have listened from day one, it has all culminated in this moment. We set out to make Coltrane watch wrestling and then see wrestling live in person, and we have achieved that goal. We have made it through international customs with minimal cavity searches. The time has finally come to talk about the show. Now, Tex, I know you're excited about the show, but I think the first thing we need to talk about, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this, is just the whole experience of actually traveling to Las Vegas. Because I got to tell you, I had so much fun doing this. I know there's some people out there that are not big Vegas fans. I am definitely a Vegas fan. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, you get hosed left, right, and center. But I just love the kitschiness of it. Warts and all, I love it. So as long as Double or Nothing is happening in Vegas, I plan to be there. I plan to go next year. So what about you, Coltrane? Do you have any kind of initial thoughts about the whole idea of like doing a show in Vegas? Are you a Vegas guy?
Well, after what happened on Fremont Street,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever be the same.
I don't know if we want to talk about that on the show.
Yeah, no, we won't bring that up. But by the gods, that was insane. There were a lot of things that Boots and I saw that night, and most nights in Las Vegas, things that should not be mentioned and will not on this podcast. But yeah, it was crazy. Vegas was absolutely insane. But it is. It's a fun town. It's a crazy town. And it was pretty great on AEW weekend, hearing all the music, seeing all the banners, everybody wearing the T-shirts, everybody being fired up. It was really great. You kind of really felt like part of a family there. It was great.
Yeah, and we stayed. This was sort of an educated guess, but I think it paid off big time. We stayed at the MGM Grand, which I knew going in had a good relationship with AEW. The very first AEW event ever was Double or Nothing. I want to say 2019, and it was at the MGM Grand. They did Dynamite at MGM Grand, and I had made an educated guess that I'll bet a lot of the wrestlers, if not all of them, stay at the MGM Grand.
Yes.
And you know what? I think that bet paid off, unlike any actual bets that I made during my trip.
Yes, it was pretty amazing. We had this great spot at the bar right by this main hallway that led to the rooms, the main elevator, and one by one, almost every single wrestler came down that hall and was suddenly shocked and scared from Shoe Boots yelling at them to get their attention and say, "You were amazing!" It was awesome.
So this is like last night after the show, like a couple hours after the show, they're all filtering back to their hotel rooms. And in my defense, I think we were being really classy. We were sitting there at the bar.
True.
They walked by. We're giving them a cheers. There's other people that are like, I don't think even staying at the hotel, but are like, I've just kind of wised up that they can encounter wrestlers in this narrow hallway that leads to the rooms, and they're like waiting there to accost them. Which,
Right.
To be clear, like the wrestlers were very gracious, and I think they expected this, and they took time to say hi and everything. But
Yeah, and like I remember seeing Wardlow, the wrestler Wardlow, from a distance, and he was wearing like a golf shirt, and I was like, I think I could probably take that guy. I think he doesn't look that big. And then you get up close, you're like, okay, well, maybe he's 375 pounds, like maybe he can take me, maybe maybe, yeah. But Wardlow match was awesome. By the way, we'll be getting into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was amazing being able to see the wrestlers come by and cheer him on, and it was really cute for me because this is again pretty new for me. But for Boots, he's known these AEW guys for years, and I mean it was like Christmas morning for you, man. Seeing these guys, like seeing your face, you were just so excited.
And I don't know, like there is a nerdy part of me that wants to accost them, that just wants to like we saw, I think it was like the Friday morning or something like that. We saw Switchblade Jay White and Juice Robinson and Tony Storm. The three of them were walking together to the pool.
That's right.
And my immediate instinct was to run up to them and just accost them. But we resisted because it's like,
we did.
Right. They got a big weekend. They're trying to hit the pool.
Right. They're just trying to have a little pina colada, just kind of relax a little bit. But it is cool too seeing them in person, like they're real, and seeing their, actual size and like seeing them in real life. I know that sounds strange, but it's like seeing a movie star or something in person versus on TV. So it was neat.
And also like I mean, well, Coltrane might know living in Hollyweird,
Ooh.
but I've encountered my share of celebrities. I lived in LA for a bit when I was younger, and I gotta say, like one of the interesting things when you actually like meet a few celebrities is you quickly like this whole starstruck thing kind of goes away pretty quickly until you meet someone you truly deeply respect. Then it kind of like, you know what I mean? Like you're kind of like, whoa. And you don't expect it because you've become accustomed to like not really worrying about if someone's famous or not. And then all of a sudden, someone who's kind of famous to you is like,
right.
So there's a bit of that going on for sure.
By the way, Shoe Boots did yell at Chris Jericho and startled the heck out of him. He did yell at Jericho, and he turned. He was like, "Hey, what's up, man? Jeez, like what the hell?"
Oh, come on! He gave me a smile.
Well, I mean, but it was a little sudden.
I told Adam Cole that he was the next champ, and I pointed at him. He looked me right in the eye and gave me a smile, a polite smile. So I don't know what that means.
He did.
Okay. The last thing I want to talk about before we get right into the show is the Fan Fest. Coltrane and I attended the official Fan Fest. I think we talked about this. Now, I met an awesome guy. I'm so bad at the names, but I'm pretty sure his name's Tim. But he runs a website called Squared Circle Apparel. He was flying down, and I guess he's based out of Calgary, so we were on the flight together. And he's heading down to network and promote, and he told me about some pretty cool meetings with some pretty cool names that he had coming up. And anyways, he kind of educated me on all these other things that are going on, indie wrestling events and other things going on. So I think next year I want to try to like kind of dive deeper into that. This year was kind of like, let's have a vacation and throw a fun wrestling show onto it. I think next year is going to be like wrestling overload. So, but we went to the official one, which was the Fan Fest at the MGM on the Saturday. And it was pretty fun. I think we talked about it on our last episode that like we're probably going to get hosed here, and I would say that like yeah, by and large, it seems like you pay the money to go in so that you can pay money to talk to a wrestler. But there were at any given time when there were signings, they had at least one or two wrestlers that were not charging. They tried to like make sure that you could meet somebody if you didn't want to pay $100 kind of thing. So. And we had a really good, awesome talk with the referee Aubrey Edwards, which was really fun.
Oh my gosh, yeah, she was amazing, and obviously just amazing as a person, and it was great. She actually really took the time to kind of talk to us and got us some little about. I asked her about being a referee in the ring and doing in professional wrestling and that kind of thing, and that was really cool. Kind of got us some cool info, some behind the scenes stuff. It was really, really fascinating. And just an awesome person, and really took the time to talk to us. And Shoe Boots here got to have his photo taken.
Yeah, with
a certain tag team
with best friends.
Yeah,
it's tweeted. It's on my Twitters if you want to see me.
The tweeters.
We got to give the people what they want, and
that's right.
We saw Willow Nightingale. She was sporting her new championship belt, and we saw Ethan Page.
Yes.
I mean, we saw a lot of like all the top wrestlers were there. It's just they were kind of like. We weren't paying, so we couldn't really get close to them. But they were all there. You could see them. And for me, the personal highlight was seeing Jon Moxley posing for photos, totally carrying himself like he does that weird kind of like he kind of slithers around, like
he's kind of chill. Like he's always leaning on something, he's never like standing up straight.
A snake on his back or something.
Right. Yeah. So that was what like Boots was saying. You see him in real life, like these are regular people, except Moxley did not look like a regular person. I'm sorry. John Moxley. He's in a league of his own, but it was cool, man. They had the signing stuff there. They had a lot of action figure kind of cool stuff set up. They had trading cards set up. They had a really cool stage where they did a lot of videos that they played, and also they had a lot of speakers come up. They talked about the video game a bit, which comes out, I think, in a couple of weeks. I think something like that.
Yeah, they're pretty stoked on the video game. I definitely am interested in it. It's gonna be very different than the WWE games, and that's on purpose. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays, how it pans out. But they went for it to play different and for it to look different visually, which sounds like a wise move. But I guess we'll see.
And one thing too is it was pretty. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tex.
I mean, if you're trying to make it look different by making it look bad, I guess that's a way to do it.
Wow, he's Boots.
I know.
Are you hearing this?
Awful.
We're drinking.
Are you hearing this?
We're drinking the Kool-Aid over here, and he's.
I think so. I mean, out of the gate, he's coming hard. He's coming hard and fast here. This is intense. Well, I just want to say,
I can't wait.
I know.
Tex, what's your favorite part of WWE 2K23?
Haven't played it, have you?
I have. I do the story. The story's not great, but I still play the stories like my own character. I do.
That was the perfect WWE fan answer. It's not great, but I still played it.
Yeah.
I mean, the graphics are good, and
he's
it's
never
fun.
played it.
It's
He's
fun.
never played. You have no idea.
Look, I got it from GameFly. The free trial.
Oh, right.
Promo code.
Did the free
Texas
trial.
Crazy Horse.
Right. Wow. There's an endorsement. Huge endorsement.
Did you just make up a promo code and announce it to our audience?
Yep. Sure did.
There you go. Perfect. This game is great if you get it on GameFly for free with a trial code. It's fantastic. Then you should really play it.
So for those of you watching on video, when you go to the FanFest, you get this cool
that's cool.
Cool FanFest necklace. And we got in line to buy some merch. And there wasn't actually a lot of merch there, but I did buy this hat, this AW hat. And you know what? I'm annoyed. I left it upstairs. I also bought a Double or Nothing mini turnbuckle, which was kind of fun. And
That's right.
Maybe I'll collect mini turnbuckles as I go to these different things. So yeah,
Can you choke your opponent with it?
I'll try next time I see you. So
Kale Queen's asking if there was any Orange Cassidy foam finger.
There was no, there wasn't, because I was going to. Kale Queen specifically requested one. The only foam fingers that they had at the event were the acclaimed Scissor Me fingers.
Yeah, that's and you can't show that on stream here. You can't show that for the show. Not on video. That's inappropriate.
We could try to scissor the.
That's pushing it. Would it be like this? Oh no, it'd be this way. That's terrible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was gonna buy a shirt, and then we were in line, and I was looking at the shirts. There wasn't much available. We actually got this awesome advice from this little. I don't want to say he was a young guy. I don't want to say he was a kid, but there was a
young man,
a young guy in front of us, and he was like old hat, like he was like decked head to toe in various AEW items from various different events that he'd attended. And he was the one that told, I was like, I want to get like a Double or Nothing shirt. And he was like, because they had them there. And he's like, don't buy your Double or Nothing shirt here. You buy it tomorrow at the event. Because if you buy it tomorrow at the event, it'll say on the back, I was there. And and then he showed me he had one from a previous year. So Colt, I believe we both bought the same shirt at the event the next day.
I might actually be wearing it here, but you won't be able to see it.
Well, here's the
from
front.
This camera angle. Yes.
Here's the front. It's a Double or Nothing. And then on the back.
There it is. Oh, there's my voice cracking. I was there.
That's a nice shirt. I like that one.
And after he kind of gave us a tip off of this, I did notice, especially at the event, like people were sporting these shirts from previous pay-per-views, left, right, and center in the building. So.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was cool. And then I wasn't expecting this, a little keepsake. They actually printed us a paper ticket. I have actually a ticket to Double or Nothing.
Yes.
Wasn't expecting that in 2023. So, yeah. So, very fun. T-Mobile Arena was super cool, especially being a Calgarian where our hockey arena is like 30 years old and we need a new one. But I think we should probably get into the show. Any other thoughts about the experience of the Fan Fest or just meeting people? I mean, it was really cool. Just there's a real sense of community. I remember telling Coltrane, this feels like really being part of like a community that surrounds something that is, I think, very positive. You can criticize AEW, you can say it's not for me, but this is like a really feel good group. Like everyone there wants this company to succeed, and everyone there is passionate about wrestling. So it was really cool.
Yeah, and for me being kind of a new member, it was just awesome. And like I said, seeing everybody in the shirts, everyone excited. Shoe Boots, we'd be in line, he'd be talking about AEW, explaining the history of this wrestler or that, and I would just look around, and all these people were listening in to Shoe Boots, and then they would smile and laugh, with him, and then so I included them in our conversation a couple of times because everyone was listening in. Because when Shoe Boots speaks, the world listens.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
I mean, for those of you that have found this podcast because of my previous like World of Warcraft stuff or our World of Warcraft stuff, there's a very BlizzCon feeling to the whole thing.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, so very cool. But without further ado, we should probably get into the event itself, because for a couple of reasons. One week ago, the three of us made some predictions, and I left the card at home so I would not lose it. I have it right here. Now, there were two matches that were not announced at the time of this, I guess. Well, what do we got? The House of Black versus the Acclaimed was not announced, so we don't have points for that. And Chris Statlander versus Jade Cargill was a surprise, so we don't have predictions for that. We have predictions for the Taya Valkyrie Jade Cargill fight. But I think other than that, we're all on the board for everything. So
before you start, I just wanted to ask, cause I've been at a stadium before. How did it feel having so much leg room with all the empty seats?
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh,
I'm glad you brought this up, because I would like to address this. This was very fascinating to me. We were at the show, and we were sitting on hard camera side, so our entire view was full seats. So we're maybe not the best people to judge the situation, because you had to be sitting on the other side to see empty seats. What I will say is that this is an event that sold in the end, depending on whose count you look at a minimum over 10,000 tickets, at a maximum over 11,000. A week prior to the show, it had sold 6,900. So there was a massive uptick in sales in the week leading up to the show. I don't know what that means. I'm not an analyst, but it does seem like maybe it had to do with the announcement of Collision, or maybe the announcement that Chicago was going to be the first Collision, which made everyone excited about CM Punk and just bought a ticket. But not a lot of people expected to see CM Punk, so I don't think that was it. Anyways, the point is that yes, if you were sitting on one side, there were empty seats on the other. Was there a ton of empty seats? No, there actually wasn't a ton of empty seats, but there was a fair amount. I did see some pictures online, and I can tell you, as someone who's sitting in there, those pictures were probably taken during the buy-in when half the arena was still empty. Like, it was way more full sitting in there. But I'm not going to sit here and, like, defend it and say, like, no, the arena was full. Yes, it was partially empty on the side that was off camera, which, by the way, is super normal and is a tactic invented by WWE. And I've seen a lot of the arguments on Twitter this afternoon when I was trying to get a vibe for the show, and I've seen people post pictures of it. And then I see the response pictures posted from all these WWE pay-per-views, including some of the more embarrassing ones, like, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but SummerSlam, where literally half of a football stadium was completely empty. Not with just a little bit of people, but like completely empty. It's an entire audience, a camera, and tarps over tens of thousands of seats.
You hear that, Tex?
I don't judge that.
Lies.
It's photographed.
To defend you, I want to defend you because it was during the arcade, the last match is when they accidentally panned over and saw it and flipped away from it. But there was a lot of people, in the hallways and stuff for the match.
The final match, the Anarchy in the arena.
Yeah, people were running up to the hallways.
So there was,
because that's where the fights were.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that could be a good reason why there were so many people out of seats. But it did look like at least two sections where I saw like one lady there.
I didn't see the video of the pay-per-view yet, so it's hard for me to like explain, but I am interested to go and watch it, because I can tell you that, like, of the lower bowl, the last little bits kind of beside the stage, they didn't sell any seats for those last ones, because I think they're just like, they probably would have opened them up if everything else sold, but they would have been horrible seats. Like, you can't see the stage from them.
Mm-hmm.
But so I don't know if that's what was shown, because those were right beside kind of that stage area where they were fighting on the barbed wire and the glass. But I'd have to see. What I can tell you is, like, I took a video at one point.
See what happened here, Tex?
I'm sorry.
He took your bait. You baited him, and he took it. You got that fish on the line right now.
That's the first one. I got plenty.
He took the bait.
I got a whole case of.
That's bait, Boots. That's bait.
I'll take it.
You took the bait.
Bait me, daddy ass.
I'm telling you.
Where is this? Okay.
He's even going into his phone now. Oh my gosh. He's hook, line, and sinker.
Well, this is super low tech, but
this will make great audio.
This is how close we were to Hikaru Shida as she was fighting Ruby Soho into the crowd right in front of us.
For those that can't see, that's like 2 feet away. Like, she was right there. It was insane.
But I have a video that is here. This is what it looked like for us. Like, it's full. It doesn't seem to be playing.
I think that'll solve it for everybody, Boots. I think you've done it.
Oh, here
it is.
I think
you've solved it for the internet.
So, like, this is during the beginning of the Anarchy in the arena match. You can see they're fighting on the stairs. But, like,
this video has an amazing ending. Get ready for the ending. Here it comes. We've got the band. Right now, Boots is panning over to the crowd. He's pulling back out, and then
that turned it off just as you wooed.
That's why you get that big ass head in the way.
That's right. That's right. I know. I'm working on it.
The point is, though, like,
it's that brain.
Just to wrap up the whole crowd controversy, my personal opinion is, and in fairness to WWE, I've seen WWE haters bring this up every time WWE does it. It's like that just bait thing. Like, if you hate someone and they have empty parts of the arena, you're immediately bringing it up, and it goes both ways, and it's a double standard both sides. But like, from our vantage point, yes, the arena looked totally full all the way up to the rafters. But yes, if I turned around and looked, our section was probably about half full, went about halfway up, and then it was kind of sparse towards the end, and they had tarped off. It horseshoed around, but once it got her all the way around, the upper, like, top bowl was closed off. There was no seats sold up there, and I'm sure they would have opened it up if if more seats were sold, but that's ultimately how it looked. So how does this compare? Last year, my understanding, it was between 14 and 15,000 people in there, which was considered a sellout.
Nice.
This year, between 10 and 11, arguably over 11, but probably not much over 11. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about 3,000 seats.
That's a great question. What are we talking about?
I just hate this controversy because it's like, dude, the show. If people didn't buy tickets, like, what are we going to sit here and like? Well, it was Memorial Day. Vegas is expensive. Well, there's NBA. Who cares, man? The people that wanted to see it went and saw it, and it was a great effing show. And not every show is going to sell out, and that doesn't mean the show sucks. It just means that there's not a ton of,
Right. No, you're right. What he's baiting you. Here. He's getting you fired up. He's winning. You're letting Texas win right now.
I know
let the Texas win.
I wanted to have this discussion because it's just really stupid. Like, it's just, do you want wrestling to win? If you do, then don't go on social media being like, well, there was empty seats. Oh, I saw a guy watching WWE while he was there. That must mean he hates AEW. He's at the AEW show, you assholes. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
If you don't want to see that, don't click on my burner account, because that's all it is.
That's all it is. Yeah. He's created like 50 different accounts just to target you, Boots.
Texas
and it's winning.
Texas Cornet Horse.
Yes, exactly. It's totally he's working.
Okay. All right. Enough about the seats. Let's talk about let me tell you this. Being in the room was awesome. And if you want to know, you can both me and Colt. I mean, I'll let Colt speak for himself. It was a blast in there. We've clearly lost our voice screaming our faces off. It was wild. There were a couple lulls, and I think that I saw a lot of people saying like, "Oh, the audience died during Jericho Adam Cole," and I'll say, you know what? It was quieter, other than some big pops. But I turned to Colt. Do you remember this, Colt? I was like, I'm exhausted.
Yes.
We were exhausted after cheering for half an hour straight for the Battle Royale.
It was a long card.
It was a long card. Well, that was But yeah.
Did you hear the Dominic Mysterio chant?
I didn't quite hear it, but I heard the word Dominic, and I just kind of put two and two together about roughly what the burn was, and tried to explain it to Colt, who's never seen WWE. That didn't go well. But I have since.
Everyone was like, "Oh!" I'm like, "Oh, like, what?"
I had no idea. Since went back and got the words, and that's an awesome burn.
Yes. But it was amazing seeing, one thing when you watch it, it's, you see these guys really getting into it, and you're like, man, this is looks really hardcore. But when you see it in person, you don't really realize how strong these guys, how they're really throwing each other around. It's really much more intense in person. That, I mean, these guys are just completely exhausted and gassed by the end of this. But it's super intense seeing it in person. It did feel different. And being in that crowd, and like Shubutz was saying, we were cheering like crazy, on every 1, 2, and there was two, and doing all this stuff. And
then there was sort of our thing that whole night. Every time there was a 2 count, we were like to everyone around us, 2. That was 2.
2. That was 2. That wasn't the 3.
That was 2.
But it's neat being involved in the cheers and this is awesome, dun, 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 this is awesome, especially during the 4 Pillars match. There's a lot of that happening, but there's something about, for anyone out there that's never gone, for someone that is out there that hasn't watched wrestling in 30 years like myself, go. I highly, highly encourage you to go. If you've been on the fence about whether or not to go, to pay for tickets to go see it, it's worth it, because being a part of that experience. And what's also interesting too is when you're part of the screams, the yells, the cheers, and then when you watch the highlights on social media, or you go back and watch the pay-per-view, knowing that you're a part of that cheer gives it that kind of extra level. Knowing that you were part of those, or the when someone comes running out, when Stadler and everything, unbelievable. So you kind of relive it, and then now you get to hear the announcers and see the different angles, and I highly, highly encourage you. It was one of the best experiences I've had in a while. It was great.
Yeah, it was super fun, and I think we were by the end of it, we had been in there for 5 or 6 hours, and we were just kind of realizing how tired we were, because through the entire event it was just pure adrenaline the whole time.
Yeah, completely screaming and drinking water, of course, naturally.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of water was consumed that night. So, yeah, it was excellent. And the water seemed to be kicking in towards the end of the night with various people in the crowd, by the way. That water was really getting spicy.
Lots of people being ejected during the last couple matches.
Yeah.
When I went there a couple years ago, water was actually more expensive than beer. I don't know if it was still this way.
Oh,
so it made sense not to get water. So I gotta save money.
I don't know. This is Vegas. Nothing is cheap, man.
Oh no, it was still like $20 to $19. You know,
yeah, it was like 2 beers. I'm sorry, 2 waters were like $35.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa.
I picked up a round for us. I was like, geez, I could have filled my car.
Exactly. Yeah, it was insane. It was insane.
All right, let's go through this, and we'll go through. We want to get on record with some of these. We'll skim over pretty quickly, and we'll spend time where we need to on the more fun stuff. And feel free to go on tangents if something occurs to you. But we do want to try to get through these for the purpose of determining our winner of the predictions game. So the first one, did we predict this one? The Rampage match. Yes, the Ethan Page and the Guns versus the Hardys and Hook. This was the buy-in match. It was, which is the equivalent of a dark match for a pay-per-view. But holy crap, we got to see the Hardys, which is a cool thing. Legendary tag team. But even with a half full, man, it's crazy how over Hook is. Big pop for him with half the people not even sitting yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were mentioning too about Hook that he's like was he like the Gen Z wrestler? He's like this young guy.
Hero of Gen Z, yeah.
He's got like anime hair.
And he doesn't say anything, like he doesn't like talking to people, which is so Gen Z.
Right, that's so Gen Z. Right, he's like the silent warrior. Right, but it was great. Everyone was like, Hook, Hook, Hook. Everyone was going nuts for him. So, and by the way, to explain, when Shoe Boot says he's so over, I learned that means that the crowd loves him. He's over. I didn't know that. I thought it was like they're so over him, like they're over it, like they're done. Yeah. But no, it's a compliment, not a negative.
We talked about that terminology. Yeah, like to say someone's over means that the audience totally buys into them, and to put someone over is like Chris Jericho put Adam Cole over at the pay-per-view. He let Adam Cole beat the crap out of him and make himself look weak so that Adam Cole could look strong. And that's a selfless thing to do in wrestling, where your image is your income, so it's a pretty big thing to do for the good of the business.
Although he did take a kendo stick pretty hard. Did you see the welts?
The welts were insane.
Texas, did that show up on the pay-per-view? Yes, the welts on the side of Jericho?
They were able to get right in on it. But I want to talk about this Hardy match.
Okay.
I didn't get to watch it right away because AEW is dumb and put it on YouTube. So I didn't know about it, but watching how Jeff Hardy was got me kind of like, oh no, here he goes again. Cause he's had multiple issues. So I'm hoping he just got, I hate saying this, that he got hurt instead of other substance issues.
So I don't think Coltrane knows this, but Jeff Hardy has a history of substance abuse and was actually, arrested and convicted of driving intoxicated for a third time recently. He just actually this is the first time he's wrestled in a year, in a pay-per-view at least. I think he's been in a couple smaller matches, but he just got out of rehab. He was away for rehab for a long time, and he's trying to be clean, and we all wish him well. And thank God nobody got hurt when he was driving drunk. He just got arrested for driving drunk.
Right.
And to his credit, he's holding himself very accountable. And I don't know. It's hard to say, but it's unfortunate. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's unfortunate that anytime the guy trips up a bit, everyone's immediate assumption is he's under the influence. And I hope that's not the case. All I can tell you is, Colt, we spotted him the morning of the show.
Yes, we did.
Walking, and he seemed fine at that point. So...
Absolutely, and you got to keep in mind, like these ropes are small. Like this is not easy to do, especially in the moment. So I think it was just a slip. I don't think there was any kind of substance abuse happening.
There was a slip. It looked like he jumped and got hurt, but then he did like a twist of fate that went wrong, and there was a couple things, and he does with the drinking driving. He does have history showing up to the ring and
inebriated. That's kind of why he's lost his job with WWE.
I mean, he could have went down as one of the greatest of all time.
I think he still will, and
I think to a point. I think he's kind of ruined his image a little bit. But I love the guy. I wish the best, and I hope it's just miscues and stuff like that. And he hasn't wrestled much in a while, so
yeah. I think given his history, it's fair. It's fair to go there in your assumptions. It's not the vibe that I got at all, but I wasn't watching it on TV. So that was the only buy-in match, and Hardy's and Hook won. Let's check our scorecard.
All right, here we go.
Boots chose Hardy's and Hook. Ugh. Tex chose Hardy's and Hook.
Can't go against them.
And Coltrane chose Ethan Page and the Guns.
Yeah, it was an act of defiance.
Act of defiance. Well, this is what happens when you put your reliance on defiance.
Oh, wow. I'm impressed. There it is. By the way, fun fact, Ethan Page, super nice guy backstage.
Yeah, at the Fan
Crazy
Fest.
in the ring at the Fan Fest. Great guy. Yeah. Super sweet. Yeah.
He was like the nicest guy in the world at Fan Fest and just the complete worst human being on the show.
Exactly. Fun fact. Yes, that on the show he's yes, exactly.
And then we had the opening ceremonies for the Owen Hart tournament. They announced that the Owen Hart tournament will officially get underway in Toronto later in June and will end in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Owen Hart's widow, Dr. Martha Hart, came out and announced that the winners will be determined in Calgary, Alberta. And she said on a global broadcast, and I'm quoting here, she said that it will be decided at the greatest outdoor show on earth.
Oh, there it is. She said it. And what did you do, Boots, the moment she said that?
There was one individual in Section 5 from which she got the biggest pop of the night when she said greatest outdoor show. I stood up with a Costco-sized Stella Artois in my hand
right.
and went, yeah! And I turned to Colt, you see? It's a thing.
You literally said at the top of your lungs, it's the greatest outdoor show on earth. And the whole section, the whole stadium heard it. It was amazing.
They didn't have any understanding of it. They looked at me like I was a complete idiot.
Yeah, security came rushing forward, but they were like, whoa, like they were on high alert. It was insane.
And then they said, be cool, security. I'm talking about the Calgary Stampede. And they're like, oh, okay.
That's right.
Never going to hear the end of that one. Oh, God.
No, it was backed up by other Canadians. They backed it up.
Yeah. But she said it as Tony Khan stood next to her wearing a cheesy AEW cowboy hat because just in honor of the Calgary Stampede.
Yes. She did say it. She did say it, Boots. So it must be true. If it's been said by you, it's been said by the world on national it's
it's fun. My next little project to improve this show, especially during the live things, is to be able to show images and clips during the show. And once I do, I'm going to make a go-to soundboard hot button to cut to Martha Hart saying greatest outdoor show on earth.
Notice how you only thought of this when it came to this clip. This is what is going to inspire you. You know, we should really get clips on this show, you know? Just had this idea, you know, we could replay this clip.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the last part, and this is great, the last part of the buy-in, which I thought was a really great way to end the buy-in, was that we got to see all the entrances for the Blackjack Battle Royal, which is a really cool thing because we all know that entrances rock and they're very fun, and it wouldn't make sense to do 12 minutes worth of entrances during the pay-per-view. So this was a really good way to let the fans have their pops for all of these folks coming in, and then when the actual pay-per-view starts, just boom. I mean, you could tell us, Tex, because we wouldn't know for sure. When exactly did the pay-per-view officially begin?
I'm thinking right on cue. I think they did like the opening promo thing,
Yeah.
and as soon as that happened, boom, it started.
So like everyone was already like the battle.
Yeah.
You didn't even see Orange Cassidy enter.
Nope.
Okay.
He was already entered. I didn't like this at all.
What?
And I have a good reason.
All right.
The whole time I'm like, Powerhouse Hobbs, where you at? Where you at, Hobbs? And he never showed up. So this was the worst thing on the show.
Hold on though. They revealed the entire Battle Royal roster days before they announced all 21 participants on Rampage. So that's sort of on you if you're expecting Hobbs to show up.
Did you really think I watched that? We didn't have to do a show on it.
Okay, well that's fine, but then it's no longer a good reason.
I made a pick 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. How was I supposed to know that they're going to announce that he wasn't on it? Oh,
well, that's why it was a stupid prediction.
I can't change my pick.
Yeah, that's why you. But you had the option. You had the option. In fact, Coltrane picked the option. You had the option to simply say, "Orange Cassidy won't win." That was the bet. Will he or won't he? Look, and you decided.
If Hobbs would have came in and won, I would have looked like a genius.
Oh,
but now
my
I don't.
That's true.
Like an idiot.
So you hated the entire Rumble, the entire Blackjack Royal Rumble.
It was really good
because Hobbs didn't show up.
You made a long shot bet and it didn't work out.
No, Texas is like
didn't work out.
Texas is the guy that's on Yelp that leaves a 1-star review for a restaurant because their reservation was 15 minutes late or the waiter was a little bit rude, and then you give it a whole 1 star. Based on that, you're that guy. You're the Yelp guy.
I put in the comment. I would do 0 star if I could.
Yes, exactly. You're gonna add that, right? Exactly. Like you didn't have napkins at the table, so it was 1 star, 0.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tex, I'm gonna cut you a break. I know you predicted Hobbs, but I will upgrade your choice to be a prediction that Orange Cassidy will lose. And so, if we now tally the points, you still didn't get any points because he won.
He did, Cassidy.
So I get a point here. You guys don't.
Freshly squeezed.
Watching on TV, I don't know how y'all saw it. It seemed like he did nothing until the very end. Seems like he was just getting his ass whooped the whole time.
He was for the first half by Kip Sabian, and then after Kip Sabian got eliminated, it was mostly Big Bill that was beating him up. And then in the end, it came down to him and Swerve. But a lot of it was him just clutching onto the bottom rope. I did appreciate this. This is one thing, and I don't want to single out WWE on this because I know that AEW is guilty of this too. A lot of modern battle royals, people like just lay in the corner and pretend they're out cold. Yep. And then some people in the middle do spots, and then they lay down, and other people get up. This was a good old-fashioned battle royale in that everyone was busy the whole time. Or if they weren't in the ring. You know, they were like out on the floor kind of thing. So at any given point, you look at the ring and it's just a big cluster of stuff going on, which is what this should be.
Yeah. So. And then little feature segment of certain wrestlers. And my boy Bandito.
Look good.
Bandito, right? Didn't he look great? Bandito. I can't say I'm going to lose my voice.
Yeah.
Who's the luchador that's an all white?
The
Commander. The Commander.
Who walked the rope?
Cool. I liked it. That walk the rope thing loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
There was
that was amazing.
This was, in my opinion, a 10 out of 10 battle royal at minimum because it was action packed, it was fun, it had great spots, and it also advanced multiple stories that are currently going on. Right, we got to see the Keith Lee Swerve Strickland thing develop. We got to see the Bullet Club Ricky Starks thing play out a little bit more.
Oh, right.
There's a number of other ones going on, but there's other like little subtle stories. We got to see like
Bandito.
Bandito. We got to see Bandito. But what was I going to say? It looks like who was Penta really feuding with? Like I think they were setting up a new story potentially. We'll see a tag team match come out of that. But anyways,
Bandito.
Yeah.
I just want to say, when Bandito lifted that guy in the middle of the ring and was holding him up, and everyone's fighting around him, and he's just holding him up, I was chanting Bandito. Now, no one else was joining in, but I was chanting Bandito, Bandito, Bandito. So
every time he did something cool, I was like, oh, Coltrane is losing his mind right now.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It was great. It was awesome.
So it was a great start. I think like when we were talking about it last week, I remember saying like this might be a better mid-card match to break things up a bit, and maybe that would have been true. But given that we got to see all the entrances, I wouldn't have changed it. That's kind of where
it started strong.
I like when a pay-per-view starts off with a bang, and I thought it was really good. Makes you feel like if this is the first match, my money's really, really well spent.
Yeah.
Good.
What'd y'all think about the way he won it?
I loved it. I thought it was totally
fun.
In character.
He was he just did a little lazy
little
kick.
Giggle.
Yeah.
I thought that was so great. I thought that was like perfect for his character after everything. And you liked it, Tex? WWE Shill?
I liked the Battle Royal. I thought it was really good, and I have no complaints. I agree with you. You do see a lot of laziness in Battle Royals, and you didn't see this. It felt like everyone was always constantly moving, and then random people was getting thrown back in the ring, and the people that weren't moving, they're like on the ramp just waiting, and you're like, when are they going to join? I loved it.
Yeah, I wasn't clear. I was wondering if maybe and you can clarify this, if maybe the commentators were saying there was some sort of rule that hadn't been announced to the audience there that they had to wait to enter, or were they just being strategic?
They were just being strategic.
Okay.
Strategic.
Yeah. Okay. And Big Bill he's big.
He's big.
Yeah, he's big. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
He's huge.
Poor Ricky. Poor Ricky. Took that boot right to the face.
Yeah, that was major. that was a big boot coming at you. That's like a Hulk Hogan boot to the face for back in the day, the big boot. It was awesome.
So yeah, super cool. And yeah, Orange Cassidy did not put on a big show during it, but I think that was all just part of the genius of this Battle Royal, because his story is that he's getting worn down and down and down and down and squeaking out these wins.
Right. Now it's his back.
Yeah. And it also served this dual purpose of like, they got to like bill Orange Cassidy in this match. They got to give him the win, but then they also, during the actual match, got to showcase all these other wrestlers that there might not have otherwise been room for. It didn't have to be the Orange Cassidy show, right? So they managed to figure out a way to advance his story without having him dominate all the spots. So very cool. Let's move on to Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole in an unsanctioned match. So
yes,
let's have the AEW fan own this in the first place. This was probably the weakest match of the night from a feeling in the room, right? In my opinion, there were some big pops early on, like when Sabu did that insane thing. And they did a thing where like kind of all this chaos broke out early on, and then sort of between Sabu, Roderick Strong, and the JAS, they all sort of wrestled each other away and just sort of cleared it so it could really just be an Adam Cole, Chris Jericho fight, which I thought was a cool thing, but
it's awesome.
For whatever reason, it also kind of sucked the air out of the room. Like things kind of really calmed down after it was just the two of them.
Yeah, it seemed to, but I also wonder too, and you had said this a little bit earlier in the show, that first Royal Rumble was so amazing. Everyone was cheering. Everyone was going nuts for the entire fight.
Yeah.
I was exhausted.
Me too.
By the time this match started, I was gassed, It
was was it like maybe a 20-minute match? But we've been cheering for another 15 minutes prior to that with all the entrances.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We were exhausted, because we work just as hard as these wrestlers. All right, let's just say that right now. All right, sitting in our seats, cheering, just as much effort. But I think that also might have been a factor. You mentioned that earlier, Boots, and I agree that because it was right after that Royal Rumble, everyone's exhausted heading into this next match. So it did seem, the crowd did seem quieter overall in the match. Still crazy, still nutty, but did seem quieter.
What was your take watching it, Tex?
Yeah, how to look on pay-per-view.
First, Taz and the commentators, they didn't even know what Sabu's job was. They kept calling him the special ref. Like, well, there's a ref in the ring. So he's obviously not the special ref. And then finally, one of them said the right thing. And I liked the beginning. I thought the middle got a little quiet. Then when they got the chains around each other, liked it. The ending was pretty dog shit. It was pretty bad. I know Shu's going to tell me why it's good, and he's going to be wrong. That was an awful ending. It was you're supposed to build up to this climax, and there was no climax. It was over. So it was if you can't reach the climax, then it's not a good match. I'm sorry.
Well, what did so in the ring, for those that by chance didn't see it, it looked like Adam Cole was just beating Jericho in the face with like a chain wrapped around his fist constantly. And then all of a sudden, the ref just called it. Aubrey called it.
Yeah.
So what were the announcers saying during that? Like, what was happening? Because it seemed kind of sudden, so I didn't really understand. They say he's knocked out, or he's out cold, or
just pretty much that he's beating them pretty badly. But I mean, the commentators weren't doing a great job the whole night. I love Taz, but they were pretty clueless the whole night. And then they were kind of shocked when it ended too. They're like, "Oh, whoa, they called it."
Gotcha. Right.
Yeah, I think the idea is that a ref needs to end the match if one of the participants can no longer defend themselves, which is sort of just a take from UFC stuff. Because in reality, if you have a match where someone literally can't defend themselves or unconscious, you would kill them or do serious brain damage if like someone kept punching you in the head with a chain while you're unconscious, right?
Right. I was thinking, because back when Chris Jericho was in WWE, Brock and Randy Orton had a match. Ended the same way, but broke him open, blood everywhere. And then Chris Jericho got mad because he thought it was real. So I wonder if he just took it. And I feel like it could have made this is where I'm going to say blood would have made a bigger impact. If he's bleeding everywhere, then it's like, oh my God, but you got to stop it.
Dude, it's funny. That is exactly what my note was going to be for this ending, is that if you're selling the fact that like Adam Cole is punching Chris Jericho mercilessly with steel chains, which by the way is a fitting angle here considering what he did to Britt Baker, it just didn't sell well because there was no blood. And they should have done a couple more spots with the chain, get a chance for Chris to cut himself open. Maybe he didn't want to, but if he doesn't want to, then this isn't the right ending. But Chris Jericho bleeds all the time. Not like Jon Moxley all the time, but Chris Jericho's willing to bleed whenever, right? Like he's not opposed to it. So I feel like if he was doing those mashing punches with just a bloody face, I feel like we'd be talking about it very, very differently right now.
Yeah,
I agree.
So. But yeah,
that's
I think
he's not to go.
In the room, we were exhausted. My two other thoughts on this match is, one, I think that ultimately this making an unsanctioned match in the same card where there's going to be an Anarchy in the Arena was probably a mistake, because every good card is going to have one big slobber knocker where things get real messy, and we all know that it was going to be Anarchy in the Arena tonight. So that if I were booking this, obviously I want these two to meet, but I think it would have been better served as like one of those goofy Chris Jericho ones, like, you know, we're gonna battle for each other. The winner gets to tear the other person's jacket up or some crap, like just something. You know, he's got a million of them, and they're all stupid and they're all awesome. I feel like that might have been the better way to go for here. But he did cut a promo for Dynamite this week, so I guess this feud is going to continue. So we'll see where it goes.
Also, as a new viewer, I learned that Chris Jericho can do magic. I was not aware he was a wizard.
It's your first time seeing his wizard trick.
Yes, I did not know that he was a sorcerer.
So
he's a wizard.
Chris Jericho has a gimmick where he like shoots fire into someone's eyes, and then he goes, "I'm a wizard," and then
yes. That was the craziest thing I've ever said. I was like, what the hell? And then it's just so great talking to you. You're like, oh, yeah, he's a wizard. He just does like wizards, like, oh, okay, God, of course, right. Oh, yeah, he's a wizard. Right.
Quick production note, he's a wizard.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so that was shocking, but awesome, by the way.
He hadn't done that in a while. If I had any sense that it was going to come up, I would have taken the time to explain.
The crowd
that part
went crazy, by the way. The crowd went crazy.
That was kind of like for a good chunk of time, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, that was his main gimmick. Like they introduced him as the Wizard, Chris Jericho. And then once he won his 8th world title, they started calling him the Ocho, because Chris Jericho's gimmick is ultimately that he has tons of gimmicks.
Right.
So he switches up. He's the Ocho right now. He was the Wizard before. He was Le Champion before that. He's been the Lionheart. He's been Y2J. He's been the Painmaker. Like he's just got all these different characters, and that's his character, is that he's the master of reinvention. So this was a bit of a callback to a character that I didn't realize that we would see again, but maybe
as the Wizard. Yes, I've actually never known why he was called the Ocho until now. I thought it was like the dodgeball reference, like ESPN 8, the Ocho. You know, like I didn't understand what that was coming from at all until this moment. So this is good. See, I'm learning something new each time. This is good. You got to catch us up. You can't assume everybody knows, you know, for those that are just coming in.
Yeah. All right.
One being that he's a wizard.
What was everyone's prediction here? Let's find the unsanctioned match. We all predicted Adam Cole. We all get a point.
Woo! I'm on the board.
I'm so excited for this next match.
Let's talk about what I would call the dark horse of the night. FTR versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
It's the best match of the night.
What the hell was that?
Amazing.
Dude.
Amazing.
I'm so glad I got back in time because I took a pee break. I was like, this is the match I'm least interested in. This is a good time to go. But I was back in time to see some smashing guitars into some very surprising faces.
Yes. Dude, I love this match. This match is what I'm talking about, the climax. See, they slowly built it over the time. Then all hell broke loose. And I've never seen someone take a guitar shot like Briscoe did. That guitar shot was just perfect.
Yeah.
I thought he was out for a second. I was like, ooh, he took that one hard.
Well, the Karen hitting Aubrey Edwards, though.
Oh.
I mean, everyone was on their feet, so we didn't have the best view of it. But, Cole, do you remember this? Like,
I do.
We're watching the match, and then I spot Aubrey Edwards running down. And I go, Cole, look. And we just see Aubrey Edwards running down, then...
Smash. Right. So Briscoe gets taken out. So there's no referee. Right. So they pin the guy, but there's no ref. Right. So we need a ref. And then all of a sudden the crowd goes wild. And then, here comes Aubrey Edwards.
And Karen Jarrett does it too.
Right. So and Aubrey Edwards, the other ref, she comes running in and then she takes the guitar right to the face. And there were some choice words from the audience. There was a chant. I don't know if you could hear it on the pay-per-view, but there was
we heard it.
Oh, really? Oh, my God. Because it was loud in the arena.
Yeah, the pay-per-view, they don't censor anything. So
yeah, it was, "You're wonderful, Karen," you know. And maybe not "you're wonderful" might not have been the two words used.
I love this match. Like I said, this is my match of the night. I started, I was like, this is kind of boring. And then just over time, I just kept watching, and it just kept getting better and better.
Yeah.
And it went chaos at the very end of it, and I loved it.
Yeah.
The only issue is FTR maybe should get new uniforms.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but their whole gimmick is that they're trying to be an 80s throwback, right? From their music to their
I've only been watching for like a month and a half now, so I didn't get that.
Yeah.
And that makes it a little bit better. I loved it though.
Yeah, it was great. And I started to really like, it's Jeff Jarrett, the guy with the big blonde hair, right?
The guy that looks like Mark Twain, the wrestler.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Mark Twain, the wrestler. Exactly. It's like the Little House on the Prairie or something. Yes. I'm actually really starting to like this guy. And I liked his little dancing. I've seen him do it, but seeing it in person.
That's his thing, yeah.
Yeah, it just had so much. I was cheering like crazy when he was doing that. Yeah. It was just awesome. And I think, because he's a bit older, but man, he's keeping up with everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He hasn't missed a step. Hasn't missed a beat.
He's been around since probably back when you were watching it. He's been around for a long time.
Yeah, I think he would have been a WCW guy in the late 80s, early 90s, hey? But he was definitely WWE in the Attitude era.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, unfortunately, I would like to watch WWE, but Boots won't let me. But anyway.
Not only has that never been true beyond the first episode.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
But it'll be the opposite of true very soon. Stay tuned.
We'll see. Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Maybe one day.
All right. Let's see what everyone predicted. Tag team. Colt.
Uh-oh, what does that mean?
I chose FTR, Tex chose FTR, and then I see FTR on yours scratched out and written beside it JJJL, which I'm assuming stands for Jeff Jarrett J Lethal. So we'd have to go back to be sure, but it looks like you must have predicted FTR and then changed your mind at the last second.
To the incorrect answer. Yes, excellent. That sounds like me. That sounds like something I would do.
So Tex and I get a point.
That's oh boy, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, fam. It's not looking good at all here. All right, we can still rally. We can still rally.
Yep.
So Colt and I, after this match, are having a conversation about how that was surprisingly amazing. We were like, "Oh my god!" Like we were kind of poo-pooing on the build up to this one, but it really knocked it out of the park. And then we noticed out of the corner of our eyes these ladders rising up. Oh man! And we realized what match was next.
Yes. And it was just so epic because that was such an amazing match. And then here come the ladders. And it was like, yes. Like, it was just great.
And so, yes, we saw Wardlow versus Christian Cage. A couple things I want to say about this one right off the top. First of all, this match, I really can't wait to watch it on video, but at least in the room, it seemed like a perfect execution of these two wrestlers having a ladder match, because you've got Christian Cage, who has a history of being a high flyer, but is older now and probably needs to take care of himself. And then you've got Wardlow, who's a newer wrestler. You know, he's been around a few years, but he's, as far as I know, maybe this is his first ladder match, but he's also a really big guy, which tend to not be great at the high flying. So what does this match need to be? It needs to be short and effing sweet, and that's exactly what it was, you know?
Yeah, what did you think, Tex?
So, no, I like this one. I thought this is. I don't know because I haven't been watching for so long. This seemed like a perfect match for Wardlow, coming of age match, because he was doing spots that you don't see a guy that big being able to do, and Cage is a perfect guy to help guide him through one of these matches. The only issue was when Luchasaurus and Art Anderson came out. The hand biting thing was dumb. I found it dumb. But besides that stuff, I thought it was a great match, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and full credit goes to these guys, just a few seats over from us, who attempted 3 times to start chant turtleneck.
I heard it.
The third time they succeeded. Yeah. The third, remember?
Yes.
They like early on in the match they did it. Like, and these guys, I don't know if you're listening to Colt, they seem to have something in the trigger for every match. Like, they came with a plan for every match.
They did. They had a chant.
This was their one that really took off, and it didn't happen right away. The first, they tried it once, kind of had a bit of a sputtering in the area. Tried twice, got a little bit more. By the third one, you and I joined in, which is obviously why it succeeded.
Well, naturally, right.
But and then the next thing you know, the whole room, and Christian Cage actually stops and looks up. Like, he heard it.
It's amazing.
It's so great.
And it was go ahead.
That was great. We heard it over the in the paper, watching at home. I thought it was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. So you could hear turtleneck. Oh man. Yeah.
Now that you say it, I remember hearing it like briefly before the big one, and so that was hilarious.
It was neat hearing it start from like these two guys, and then I felt like it went from those two to us, and then it just started going to these sections, and just hearing it just bounce around, and then the entire arena is doing it. It was unbelievable, and that's that experience. So I encourage you, if you get a chance, you really got to go to these live events. So I'm excited. Now I really want to see this pay-per-view to go back and watch it, especially if you can hear turtleneck. That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's $50.
Yeah, but worth it. And also Wardlow, we got to talk real quick before we move on about him jumping off the 25-foot ladder,
dude.
Basically the ceiling of the arena almost, and landing on Luchasaurus.
And it was like he stood on top of it. Like, he didn't just like go a couple rungs down. Like, he stood on top of it. Thank God somebody was. I think one of the refs was holding the ladder steady, because there's no way that you could.
A ref and Art was holding it too.
Okay,
they both were. Yeah.
Which is a whole controversy. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I interrupted you.
Oh, just people. There's been a number of times where the camera catches someone holding the ladder steady, and they're like, "That was so fake," but it's actually always happened in ladder matches. They wouldn't actually work if somebody wasn't holding the ladder steady because they would just fall over every time. So
there was a spot in the middle of it where Wardlow is trying to climb the ladder, but it's broken.
Oh yeah,
and the ref's like, no, please don't.
And he like provided another ladder to him.
Yeah, it's like, please climb it. I want to see you just get smashed down.
Right, because these massive guys are getting thrown into it. It completely bent the ladder. Yeah, it was awesome.
Great. Good match. I enjoyed it.
It was great. It was great. Let's see what the predictions were.
Oh, I know.
Here it comes.
Ladder match. I predict Wardlow. Tex predicted Wardlow. Coltrane predicted Christian Cage.
Oh,
rough night. Rough night.
Oh, boy. Ooh, I think I'm getting voted off the island here, boys. I got to tell you, I might have to play my idol here in a minute. we got a real trouble. We're in real trouble here. I don't know if I'm coming back from this one.
All right.
That's not good. That's not good.
So now we're going to move on to what didn't feel like it at the time, but I've since learned was one of the more controversial matches of the night. Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm for the women's championship. This was a match that I thought was another kind of short and sweet match. We don't know the full details, but I went into this match assuming Jamie Hayter is injured and that the goal is to get the belt off of Jamie. And that's exactly what happened. Oof. Other people had different takes. But what did it look like on pay-per-view?
At first, I was the same. I was like, "Ooh, they're just destroying her." I was like, because as far as I know, Double Nothing seems to be like the WrestleMania, right? Their big event.
It's one of the, I think,
or like SummerSlam.
It's. I mean, they have 4 big ones, and I mean, usually only 4. Most people I've learned have kind of said that All Out is the big one, and Double or Nothing is maybe the second biggest one.
Well. So I was like, "Ooh, it's weird for them to do it on one of the bigger pay-per-views, because most of the time they do this to set up the big one, right?"
Right.
But then I did hear that she was hurt, and instead of just vacating the title, she at least good on her for at least going out there and giving it away that way, and so there's no controversy. And the vacated title is always lame. So
Totally.
At first, I didn't like it, but now it's like, okay, it's fine.
And they did a cool thing to, like, they did the whole thing where, like, they ran the entrance music and she doesn't come out. And then they run it again and she comes out being beaten up by Saraya and Ruby, which is another just nice touch to protect her, right? Because it's going to, like, she lost the match, but she got the crap kicked out of her before she even walked out,
Yeah. She looks severely injured, which she was. But for the show, she looked severely injured, so it made sense on the outcome. But what Boots is saying is right. Is like if you've got a wrestler that's injured, you've got to take the belt off of them.
Yeah,
this is what you got to do.
And I totally agree with Tex. Like if she was injured and wasn't up for doing that, then yes, she would have to relinquish the title, and they would have to come up with a way to determine a new champion, which is always. It's always the better choice to actually have them lose the belt if they can. So if she's working injured, just let's do a match that protects her as much as possible, puts her through it as little as possible, so that we can actually like see the belt carry over to Toni Storm. I think that's great. I also think like Toni Storm was the champion. She lost it to Jamie Hayter. Now Jamie Hayter lost it to Toni Storm. I think I mentioned a couple episodes ago, like, what I've noticed with AEW is they don't really plan ahead for grudge matches, but which in my opinion makes them so much more special when they happen organically. We've got a great setup for a grudge match here, right? They've got one apiece, and you've got All In coming, which is in England, and Jamie Hayter is English. Like, I think you got a really good setup here if she's feeling good, because that's late August. That should hopefully be enough time for her to heal up and win this belt back in London and blow everyone's mind. That's my hope, anyway.
I don't want you to read the scorecard on this one, Boots.
Let's see here.
I did say last week there was going to have to be a title change, and this was going to be the one.
Right. Can we just skip this one, Boots?
So we had Shu chose Tony Storm. Tex chose Tony Storm.
Yeah.
Colt chose Jamie Hayter.
Yeah.
Hayter. Yep.
Oof. Hater. Yes. That's. Yeah. This is not going well. This is not going well at all. But I'm learning. I'm the new guy, right? I don't know. You guys know. I'm learning, and trust me, I'm learning a lot here.
Now, can I say, the next match is where I got real jealous of you guys, because the House of Black match, it seemed like, man, their entrance, it seemed electrifying. How like spooky it was. I was like, oh, I bet that's so cool being there for that.
What do you think, Colt?
It was amazing. It was everything you expected it to be and more. Being there in person, because you could see all the fog and all the lights and the moment and the music, and everyone's just like, oh, and they just look so awesome because they're just backlit. They got the masks on, and one thing that was cool is they like did their little walk down the ramp, and then they kind of like hauled butt, like they ran because they were off camera then. And then they got in there and they got up there and then they got in their pose and the music, the lights came back on and boom, they're in that awesome pose. And it just like, it just looked awesome.
I was real jealous on that.
And the guy, what is his name? Brody King, the guy with the gigantic guy covered in tattoos.
I know it was Brody.
With his face painted like white powder on his. He looks so scary, man.
Oh,
from what it sounded like, if I remember correctly, he seemed to be the star there. I kept hearing the Brody chants for him.
Yeah. And Boots, there was one moment where he charged at this guy and throwing this elbow, and it was right at us because we had the turnbuckle kind of near us. So he was charging at us, and Boots turned to him. He's like, "Can you imagine that thing coming at you like that fast?" It was like the scariest thing you could imagine. Like it's nightmare fuel. Like it was unbelievable.
Yeah. So, and it was also like really funny to see it was such a weird like the Acclaim come in and Max Caster's doing his rap and they're scissoring while the House of Black's just sitting there just like I don't know if they showed them on camera at all during that point, but they're just like sitting there disapprovingly. Like just really funny.
Well, they were all doing their acting out in their big show. It was great.
And you kept hearing I think it might have been Brody, but I could be wrong. It kept telling the other guys to break their arms. It was really cool because WWE don't really get this much. You could really hear what they were saying, and it really brought you into it. I really enjoyed that.
That's cool. Now, I love this match.
You see? Sounds like you had a good time here, Tex. I'm just saying.
For the most part, I said it was pretty good. It's pretty good.
I love this match. My only complaint, and I didn't even have the complaint till somebody else gave it to me, and I agreed with it. But I was listening to a podcast on the flight home just to hear a review of it, and they were saying like the one miss. They were saying the great match, awesome, but the one miss was that the Acclaimed opted not to impose a special rule, like the house rules. The House of Black always lets you add your own stipulation, and the Acclaimed opted not to, and they're like, it was sitting right there. They should have made a rule that they can only win if they scissor daddy ass. And it would have been so funny to see like Brody King like begrudgingly scissoring an unconscious daddy ass to win the fight or something like that.
Right. That's pretty brilliant. Or Malachi, right.
This house rule thing, that's a new thing, right? That happened like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a thing that the House of Black is doing. They're just saying that they're doing an open challenge. So the idea is they do an open challenge. Nobody has to prove anything to fight them. But if they accept the open challenge, it's on the condition that they agree to house rules, which includes that they get to choose a stipulation.
So if I remember correctly, this is the second time we saw it. And truly, it's the second time that the rule hasn't been enforced.
Agreed. They've kind of squandered it. Like the first time they did Best Friends, didn't realize that they got to do that and had to just try to think something up on the fly.
No witches.
No witches.
Right. That's right. I'm telling you, Texas, you seem to be enjoying this AEW. I'm just saying.
Now the next, we're getting close to my complaints.
Now, good news for Coltrane is we didn't make predictions on this match, so
all right.
it's
So it's evened out.
Points.
That's right. Read 'em and wheat, boys. How's that taste?
All right.
Good.
But great match. Super fun to see a bit of how the sausage is made too. Like when they were getting ready, I'm assuming they were showing the video package to you, the viewer, as we see them like raise up that House of Black flag and Julie Hart comes out and gets in position. It's just kind of cool to get them all set up. And there's a few times during the night we get to see stuff like that.
Yeah, and it was neat. When that flag came up, started rising, the whole crowd was like, ooh. Like it was just like everyone was excited. That's what was coming up.
Yeah. All right, next match, TBS Championship, Jade Cargill versus Taya Valkyrie. Let's look at the Taya match first, and then we'll look at the unexpected second match. So I didn't see this match. I went pee.
Jeez Louise. It was good. It was
One
all
of
right.
the biggest reveals. Yeah.
I would have loved to see it, but it's a lot of beer, man.
The only issue I had is I don't watch Rampage, so I don't see Jade a lot. The only 2 times I've seen her is the same match, and so I was like, I was kind of like to see her fight someone else.
Yeah, she's been featured on Dynamite a lot. She's just kind of more on Rampage lately. Yeah. Yeah, I did see the entrance. The entrance, she always has an awesome pay-per-view entrance. She always kind of goes the extra step.
I was bumping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what it's saying now?
Yes. That's awesome, Tex. Yeah, it was good. And I mean, we should probably talk about the ending because that was insane.
Oh, I'm ready to complain.
Okay, so Jade Cargill gets the win, gets the pin. And by this point, I have peed, I have washed my hands, and I'm fortunately I can see what's going on. I'm just not at my seat. I'm kind of up at the top there. And Smart Mark Sterling comes out and makes the claim of like, oh no, I remember I saw this on the TV up above, and when I as soon as he said, he goes, anyone, anytime, anywhere, but there's no one, and I immediately like ran over because I know we all know what just got planted there. And but before we get to it, let's take scores for the TBS Championship. We all predicted Cargill would win, so we all get a point.
Booyah. That's right, boys. I'm on the board again with 2.
But then Chris Statlander's music hits, and everyone in the entire room goes crazy except for Coltrane.
Yes. I don't know.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. She looked awesome though. Like what was amazing is she did this like great move, like rah, with her arms out right when like the music kicked in and the screen changed. I was like, whoa, who is that? Like, yeah, she was amazing. She was amazing. But this is a big deal. This is a major wrestler.
Is massive, and it was nobody expected that Jade Cargill was going to drop this championship, and that she would in a way that was pleasing to the audience. People were very stoked on this outcome. She got a huge pop. She took the belt off. This accomplished so many great things. It brings Chris Statlander back. You guys don't know Chris Statlander. She was during the pandemic one of the top women's workers. She frankly deserves to be women's champion at some point, and I hope that she gets there. She's awesome. She's often affiliated with Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. She runs with that crew. And she got injured. I forget what it was.
Torn ACL.
Torn ACL. So she was out for like a year. So
man,
maybe it was like 8 or 9 months, but a long time. And nobody really knew when she was coming back. So really took by and large the vast majority of us by total surprise. I didn't see anyone make this prediction that we're going to see Chris Statlander. So she came in. She dethrones Jade Cargill, which accomplishes so many things. It gives her a belt she's always deserved, establishes her as a very dominant player right out of the gate for people like you guys who don't know who she is. It finally frees up Jade Cargill from that belt so that she can develop her story further in a way that protects her because she just won a hard-fought match. So the plausible argument that she could beat Chris Statlander is there, and they can revisit that if they want to down the road.
Yeah, and the announcers even said that. I watched in a clip. They're like, "But she's got to be tired. She just faced Valkyrie, you know." So I think that is that kind of it's a perfect way to do it. And in this Statlander, she was awesome, by the way. She looked great, like badass.
So
right,
you liked it, right? Good.
Loved
you enjoyed it.
Oh, here we go.
Now, 2 months ago, I could be wrong on the dates. You wouldn't shut up about how Charlotte beat Ronda in the exact same way, and you hated it. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
It's a way to protect Ronda because she did just have a match. It's a way to get the belt from her because she didn't want to fight whoever it was at the time for WrestleMania. It accomplishes the same thing, and you absolutely hated the other one.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
Oh, get me.
The difference there is that Ronda Rousey had just won a match. Charlotte Flair comes out and asks to wrestle her right now. She accepts and loses. It was stupid. Had Jade Cargill known that Chris Statlander was in the building in kayfabe, she would have never put out the challenge. She put out the challenge specifically because she truly believed that there was no one left that could possibly beat her.
The ref even asked, "Do you want to do this?" And she said yes.
Well, yeah, because she's already made the statement.
Hey, a good heel finds a way out of it.
I don't know. When Statlander came running down the ramp, they cut to Jade, and she's going, "Come on, come on." She was into it.
And there's
right out of the gate.
And I mean, there's so many. We could do an entire episode comparing those two moments, but there's so much nuance involved with why it's so cool that Statlander did that and why it's so not cool at all that Flair did that. Because, like, the whole world is so sick of Charlotte Flair holding a belt, and the whole world thinks that Statlander deserves a belt. Like, it's
right. I see the comparison that Tex is making.
I see it, but I don't agree with it.
But if you're trying to build Rhea Ripley, this is going into the weeds. You let her beat someone like Charlotte Flair, and you can't just have anyone beat Ronda. You have to have someone bigger or the same level of star power to build the next star.
Sure, but you're now getting into the whole thing like because that fit better later, that we should excuse the poor choice here. Whereas I'm saying no, we just need good choices all along the way.
Look,
that's
shield. We're gonna AEW shield.
Here's what I'm gonna say.
I liked it though.
It's a fair critique, but I stand by my judgments of both.
Right. Okay. Right. So
like,
you're wrong on both
counts. The thing, it's like I'm not.
Right, is what you're saying essentially.
No, it's a fair critique. Like I think that reasonable people could disagree on these things, but my take is that like this propelled so many stories forward in wonderful ways, and the Charlotte Flair Ronda Rousey thing just was a story disaster. Like it just made no sense. And the other thing is like her lawyer, I read some things that we might not see Jade Cargill for a while, that this might have been a ploy to excuse her for a while because she's taking some time off. But if we see her again, I'll bet one of the first things she's going to do is fire that lawyer who is the one that put the challenge up. One of my favorite goons in all of wrestling, Smart Mark Sterling. This guy's been around AEW since day one, and he's just the worst lawyer. Anytime any wrestler hires him, they get screwed over by his advice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's guaranteed, right? Yeah.
That's another piece that's totally different, right? Like, of course, Mark Sterling screwed you over.
Right. And I think when that happened too, Shubitz and I we were eating chicken tenders up top, and we started yelling at the screen. And Boots was like, "Oh my, it's Statlander!" Started yelling at this. Yeah, his chicken is flying out of his mouth and hitting the screen. It was unbelievable.
I felt bad because obviously I don't know her, and Coach in the same way. So when everyone's flipping out, I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, that just comes with the territory to being new to the product.
Of course.
Eventually, these returns I'll end up getting.
Yeah.
I liked it. I like the Ronda one. I like this one. So.
Yeah, and I like now knowing the backstory and what happened, and I've rewatched that moment a few times, and it's emotional. It's emotional when she comes out and like cheers, and she's like, "Yeah!" And I just thought it was awesome. That was a great wrestling moment. There's no one else. There's no one else. And then boom, music starts, and here comes someone we haven't seen in a year because of a torn ACL, which I assume has got to be death to any wrestler. And for her to come back after a year, it's incredible. So she's been putting in work.
It was just a really good way to kind of cap off this Jade Cargill thing, because 60-0 over the course of like the better part of 2 years, it's like we need a way out of this. It's getting super stale. But how do we end this? Like, we've kind of painted ourselves into a corner. How do we end this? Well, we can't end it until someone so worthy to take it off her comes that we buy that they would take it off her. And we need to do it in a way that protects her. And we also can't have it be anyone from the top card because it's the mid-card belt, right? They could have at any point have a Britt Baker or a Jamie Hayter come in and take this belt. But that doesn't work because that lowers the top carder, right? You can't have Toni Storm. You can't have Jamie Hayter. You can't have Britt Baker. You can't have all these top players step down because that's bad for them, and it kind of messes up the purpose of these two cards. And we also need to free up this TBS championship because it's supposed to be the workhorse belt, you know? So
that's
I'm
awesome.
hoping it will be now. All right. Let's move on to the 4 Pillars 4-way.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
From in the room, this match looked like an 11 to 12 out of 10. Just perfection. MJF called it the best 4-way of all time because he's MJF. But I've seen a lot of other people call it the best 4-way of all time. I'll reserve judgment till I get a chance to watch it on video, but wow. Just the spots, man.
Yeah, the choreography.
Spots.
I mean, what did you like? Because you're more of a Tex. I'm just curious because you're a big WWE guy. This is my first time seeing a 4-way, besides college. But anyway, and I think that was probably the best 4-way of all time. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, we won't get into that here. But was that like? What do you feel as a seasoned veteran watching these type of matches?
I thought it was fine.
Oh my god!
Oh, jeez! Oh,
I was. I think the problem was I was expecting it to be here, and it was all right. It was all right,
dude.
I thought there was a couple really good spots.
You're gonna need a bigger monitor to show where it was. It was so
right. It was beyond.
There was the couple pretty good spots, but overall it was all right.
Dude, you're the worst.
And it could have been. It could have been. I've already been watching wrestling for 7.5 hours, and
maybe you're fatigued.
The pay-per-view was still going on. Like, geez Louise, we still got 2 matches left. Also, if you're the co-main event, you are not a main event. Stop calling yourself that. WWE does it worse. WWE had 3 main events this weekend.
I agree. I know they called this the main event, and then it wasn't the final event of the night. I will give you this one, Tex. You should not call it the main event if it's not the last match of the night. They shouldn't have called it the main event because I think it was the right choice to have it the second last match.
I thought MJF was a pretty masterful storyteller in the match. Every time he turned around, he was accidentally getting hit or on purpose. He just couldn't get into the match. I thought that was great.
Did it get picked up? Because we saw it was right in our direction. I forget. I was at Darby grabbing him, about to like pull him down. He's like, "What the fuck?"
Every time he got hit for the first half of that match, he was cussing. It was great. I enjoyed it. I like when he faked like he's gonna jump out and just and started dancing instead. That was awesome. Right. MJF is amazing. And I thought Darby had some really good moments. But I can't off the top of my head be like, this is the greatest 4-way ever, because there's been a million of them. But it was good. It just wasn't. I had it built for something so much higher. And I was disappointed.
I think you're completely wrong here, Tex. Like I love you, man. I love you. I support you. I know, Tex. I'm always in your corner. But on this one, I mean, what was amazing about it is that each wrestler I felt was featured. And you got to see their finishers. They had that one segment where each one did their finisher. And it was also character driven as well. Like when Jungle Boy was holding the belt, and is he gonna hit Darby and win the match and just smash him over the head? Is he
gonna make the heel choice? Yeah.
Is he gonna make the heel choice? And what was hilarious, the crowd was cheering that we wanted him to do it, and the crowd, I don't know if it picked it up, but we started cheering Jungle Man, Jungle Man, Jungle Man. Yeah, instead of Jungle Boy, we were cheering Jungle Man, and then he threw the belt, and then the whole crowd booed. Everyone's like, no, like boo.
Yeah. My bad. I forgot Sammy. I thought Sammy was great too.
Yeah.
Sammy had I mean, I wish he would just put on like 30 pounds of just muscle.
Maybe. I think that like that could be, it's funny. You guys are joining this now, but if you actually go back a few years to the early days of AEW, MJF is the same size as those other three. He built all this muscle in the last year and a half to be world champion. Like he just made the decision. And you know who else did that? It was Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was a lot smaller in AEW.
He was. If you look at old WWE, he was real small.
Yeah.
And he's a good size.
So I don't want to be too much of that guy that says you got to be big to be good, but I do think that it's like you guys can keep your current physique and be amazing mid-carders for years and years to come. But if you want to like really be at the top of the card, it's time to add a few pounds, and they're already in terrific shape. It wouldn't take much. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You got to look like that. That's the look. You got to be this like gigantic,
And they'd have to figure out what works for them, because you do have to give up some mobility to be able to do that. So for certain guys, that's a bigger ask, right? Like, what would Sammy be able to do if he had 20 more pounds of muscle on him? I don't know. He'd have to figure that out.
Yeah. And Darby, I thought, but Darby smaller. But man, was he mobile. Like, he was moving. I thought he did a great job. I thought he did a great match throughout with all of his moves and everything. I still remember what the fuck? That was just so funny.
When they're all doing the submission hold on each other in a chain.
Yes.
Okay, I found that lame.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Let me tell you what. I have a good reason. It's because the camera got real close, and you can tell none of them were holding it. It was all just loose. So I was like, oh, man, he gave it. Camera should have just stayed away. If the camera would have stayed away, it would have been better. Now, there is one part that I really did like, and I didn't understand at first, and then I did, is when they all did their mentors special.
Oh, yeah.
Finisher. I enjoyed that.
That was kind of lost on me in the match, but I heard about that later, and I'm looking forward to like watching it again with that. I didn't quite catch on to that intricacy during the match.
At first, I didn't. And then I watched it. I was, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of deep cut storytelling built into this match, kind of like stuff that like if you know, and if you don't, that's okay. You can just enjoy the match, which is another just like great aspect of this match.
Yeah, and that's what I meant too earlier when I was talking about. I meant the mentors finishers, and I had the same boat. In the moment, I didn't quite. It just was awesome. But then watching clips and everyone was talking about, I was like, oh, that's what they were doing with this and that. So, yeah.
And then the finisher in the end, where like Darby goes for the coffin drop, and MJF sneaks the belt on him, and then does
the side headlock.
Yeah.
There's my voice cracking.
Camera messed up again. It clearly did not even get close to his head, and it's like you're ruining it. The camera. I hate that WWE does the quick switches, but it saves moments like this because you can clearly see it just hits like his lower back.
But even that's metal on the back.
But he acted like he was knocked out. He went and just flatlined. I was like, well,
it looked awesome for where we were sitting.
Yeah,
it was like
I can see because you can't see right. You can't. It just looks like he lands on it. And that would be awesome.
The other thing is I don't know how tight the shot was, but I think for me, like watching it in person, the exciting part is I see Darby up there, but my eyes are actually over on MJF because he comes in and he's looking up and he's holding the belt, so I can see, oh, he's gonna do something. And then I was following MJF, not Darby, so I don't know if like from the camera shot, if the belt just comes in from off screen or if it was on MJF or what was happening there. But that made me not. I wasn't really watching Darby. I was watching MJF the whole time.
I thought it was just the pacing of it was great, and each character to me got featured. And I thought the ending with again MJF cheating, throwing that in as the win, I thought it was just brilliant. Sorry, Tex, go ahead, buddy.
My question, and this is more for Shu, who does MJF go against next? because you eliminated 4. I mean, you could go against one of them, but I kind of think you eliminated those 3.
Well,
for the next big match.
The question is he going to fight at Forbidden Door? And if he does, he'll probably fight someone from New Japan. So we can kind of like put that aside and say that doesn't really count for the continuing AEW storyline, because it'll be kind of the next 4 weeks will probably be largely they'll be making small steps to move along their storylines, but the big events will be kind of a break from the current AEW storyline by and large. So if we kind of put that aside, I watched him in the media scrum, and he seemed to indicate he does not intend to wrestle in Forbidden Door. And I don't know and it does seem like he injured his forearm, so maybe he can't wrestle in Forbidden Door, but we'll see what happens. But if he doesn't, then that would mean that the next major event is All In London. So I'm going to take that question as, who does MJF defend the title against at All In London?
Yes.
I think you know who it is, Boots.
I know who it is.
Bandito.
It's Bandito.
It's Bandito. No, it's not Bandito. I think Boots' prediction is someone that he got to see in person. Oh no, you think it's?
If you're making me bet right now and call it,
yeah,
it's the best in the world. It's CM Punk.
Wow,
that's your best headline match. Now that is assuming that CM Punk and Kenny Omega will not fight. I'm going to assume, because if they will fight each other, then they need to fight each other.
That's the money match.
But assuming that money match can't happen legally, then it's got to be CM Punk for MJF, and I'll give you, and the main reason is they fought before in the dog collar match, which was just bonkers, this match. And so they could come back and fight again, and CM Punk should lose that match. He should not get the title, which will do a couple things. First of all, MJF's title needs to continue longer, and CM Punk shouldn't get the title till he's proven that he can avoid injury and avoid brawling for a little while.
Right.
But also, it sets up someday in the future a grudge match, right? They'll be one apiece. So that's the match I would book for All In, is CM Punk versus MJF. And I challenge you to give me a bigger money match other than Kenny versus CM Punk.
Right.
I agree, that's the money match. You cannot, I don't think you can have CM Punk lose to MJF unless there's some shenanigans.
Always shenanigans.
Right. What's the biggest shenanigans would be a Kenny Omega interference. That would just blow
But I'm going to operate under the assumption that he and Kenny Omega will not be seen together because that they can't be in the building together.
Look, give them a little extra money. Everyone will play nice.
I hope you're right, and I can't wait to see it. But
how is CM Punk on the mic?
He's great
compared to MJF. He's good.
He's good. Yeah.
I would say he's the best in the company just because of his experience.
The build-up for his fight against, when he was feuding MJF, the promos were among the best I've ever seen in all of wrestling, because both CM Punk and MJF were awesome, and they made it super personal. Like MJF basically was like, "You were my hero growing up, and then you turned on us all when you quit WWE." Like it just got super personal. And MJF actually had, like, in real life, Maxwell Jacob Friedman had a photograph of him as a child getting CM Punk's autograph.
You're kidding.
It was like so great, you know?
Wow.
And then they had a dog collar match, which is one of like the craziest matches you can do. If you're not, I think we told you about it. You wear a leather, you're connected by a chain around, like you have leather around your neck and then a chain connecting your necks to each other. So you can't get away each other. There's lots of things where you like pull the guy and clothesline him and stuff.
Right. Again, this was college, I think. This was
right.
Yes, quite familiar.
But yeah, before we digress too much on that, we can come back to that, but we should get through this show. So the Pillars match was amazing. I don't know what Meltzer rated it. I just took a quick look on CageMatch.com, which I've found recently is a popular user database of all matches ever and what people rank them. And the current rankings a day later is currently 9.34 out of 10, which sounds pretty good. I don't have enough experience with this site to know if what that means, but I guess I'll just take that to mean you're in the minority, Tex, you lunatic.
Yes. Like I said, I just was expecting Out of This World, and I said it was fine. It wasn't bad.
It was amazing.
It was incredible.
Fine. Maybe I was just so looking forward to this next match.
Okay, well, let's move on. Before we move on, who did everyone predict would win the four pillars?
Jeez. Oh, gosh.
Shu predicted MJF. Tex predicted MJF. Colt predicted, Darby.
Okay. Oh, wow, boy. And I was full of confidence. I was full of confidence in that one. Yes, yeah, it's got some hair on it. If you know what I'm saying. That's got some hair on it.
All right, final match of the night. Anarchy in the Arena, Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite. This was the fourth version of this match. Second match officially, fourth version spiritually. We got the two Stampede Stampedes, and this was the second Anarchy in the Arena, all of which have happened at Double or Nothing. It is a tradition at this point. Wow.
Oh.
Wow, man.
I said the same thing, but like, wow.
You know, I got one thing to say. Wild Thing.
You make my heart.
There was a couple times I think he wanted to stop, but they're like, keep going. He's like, Wild Thing. again. And again. And I was like, please stop.
It was building towards something.
It was also a callback to last year, which you guys didn't see, that the Wild Thing music kept playing over and over again. They did kind of a, I might be misremembering this, but they did a thing where like the fight carried into like the sound area, and they damaged the sound area so that the song wouldn't stop. And Jericho was getting really mad that the song, I can't remember exactly what it was.
I think kidding.
I'm going to stop because I think I'm butchering it. But they made up some fun thing about how the song wouldn't stop. And last year it was BCC against JAS. I think I'm trying to remember. Anyways, I think there was a callback to that, but it was awesome that they kicked the band guy in the face eventually.
I was like, thank God.
He was out cold. Right?
Yeah, he sold it pretty good. I don't know who was behind that mask, but he sold it pretty good. I don't know what it looked like at home. It was pretty tough to follow in the arena, but it was still a hell of a good time. Obviously, we could see what was going on in the ring at any given time, and we could see some video feeds of Claudio and Matt carrying out into the truck there. There was the
back of the pickup truck.
The back of the pickup truck.
Right. The old pile driver in the pickup. And somebody, I saw a great tweet, and I think I posted in our chat earlier. I don't know if you guys saw it. It says, this match gave us the greatest visual of all time. And it was a split screen of Kenny getting like cut open in the face. And then in the other one, these two guys, he was spinning around. Yeah. It was the craziest visual I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah. The exploding super kick. Whoa.
Huge.
I think that was an F up. I think he was supposed to explode on like 3 different kicks, because he did like 2 other kicks afterwards and nothing happened. And he kept holding his leg like it was burnt or something was going on with it.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't have noticed that from where we were sitting. All I know is that we just saw a big explosion. Yeah. It's like, what the hell is going on?
And it was out of nowhere. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I want to see how it, like, were you able to see how it worked? Like, I was wondering if maybe he had like a button on his thigh that he was slapping or something.
You saw Moxley trying to take it off, but then it just switched cameras. You never saw it again. Okay. You didn't see what it actually was. And I just want to say how I felt about this match. This was the worst match I've ever seen in my life.
Oof.
And now, I wasn't there in the arena, so I didn't get the emotions like y'all would have.
Right.
Every 3 seconds, the camera's switching to something else, and it wouldn't let it sit and build. It's 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds. And I watched one of the old ones where they would let it build, where it was like, 30 seconds with one group, then 30 seconds with the other group. And it's just, I was getting a headache from all the switching of the cameras. Okay. There was a couple good spots. But majority, I was also expecting like crazy stuff, because you told me about the horse, or when
right,
the trident. Yeah, right. Matt Hardy kept changing costumes. I was ready for some crazy stuff, and there wasn't that much craziness.
Well, first of all, those 2 are from the Stadium Stampede matches, which weren't actually live. They were partially pre-recorded because it was COVID. So you really got to compare it to the Anarchy in the Arena match last year, which I would say there probably was crazier stuff last year, but there was stuff that maybe made my jaw drop more this year. And I'm specifically talking about the foot and the thumbtacks.
Oh,
that was crazy to me.
I enjoyed that spot. I also enjoyed it.
And the mouthful of thumbtacks.
Yeah. 90% of them went on the ground. Same thing. These camera guys need to get a new job. Because we kind of ruined that too. Most of them just fell out.
Dude, but that's normal. That's how you do it. You make them spill. That's. I think that's on purpose. He just because when
it's more of a show.
Because when they uppercutted him, he spit them out, so you know for sure that he had some.
But you could have made it look like he swallowed 90% of them, instead of just looked like he just swallowed like 2 or 3.
Well,
I don't know. It looked like more came out to me. I think that adds to the
like
drama.
20 to 30 out when he got uppercutted.
Right.
But,
figure way out. I thought that was a pretty good spot still. I thought the foot thing was cool. I was like, oof.
It looked crazy to us, and we didn't even see the I think Cole, you and I didn't really see the full all the tacks in the foot till we're watching Twitter later, because from where we were sitting, we saw his foot land on the tacks, and we assumed that was awful, but we didn't actually visually see the tacks in his foot from where we were. We just saw those images later.
Yeah, and there's some great photos of those tacks in his foot as he's walking around. That was really intense.
It's insane, man.
Yeah.
I felt like it was just too much going on, and they wouldn't focus on specific spots.
I'll have to reserve judgment about the live cutting because I haven't seen it on video. But being there in the room, it was bonkers. It was crazy. And another thing is the room was lit. People were going nuts in the room.
Yeah, the whole time. Everyone was on their feet for the entire match.
And then the end, I mean, we all got swerved. It was a beautiful swerve. Takeshita comes out and wins. Here's what's so beautiful about this swerve. This is amazing because no one in that room thought this would have happened. But we all had the story pieces given to us to figure it out beforehand. We all knew Don Callis had been recruiting Takeshita. We knew that Takeshita was brought in by Don Callis to save the Elite before. We knew that we hadn't seen Takeshita in weeks, and the last time we saw him, he was helping Don Callis. And then we saw Don Callis turn on the Elite. So it totally makes sense that Takeshita, we had the pieces given to us to figure this out. Some, how I've made some smarmy predictions that panned out. This could have been a smarmy prediction.
Emphasis on schmarmy. Right. Exactly. No, you're not wrong. But that was one of those where I think it was probably better in the arena than on pay-per-view.
Right. Possible. I could see the emotion of the arena because you are in it. And I can see how that would really rise it, and we didn't get that. And the ending for me didn't really hit, and that might just be because I've only been watching for 2 months, a month and a half.
I think I didn't seem a collective gasp.
I just didn't whatever. I didn't.
Here's how good it was: is that we saw that this masked person betrayed, helped them win, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And the feeling in the room, at least I think the feeling in the room was, "Oh my god, who the hell is it gonna be?" Even once we knew that there's somebody was there, there was nobody yelling Takeshita, nobody, and then it comes up and I think it was just well, of course it's Takeshita.
Right.
I don't know.
Who else would it be?
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Wouldn't it be cooler if Hangman was the one trading on him?
Yes. No, it wouldn't have, because of Hangman's history with Moxley. The main reason that Hangman's back with the Elite is because he's been feuding with Moxley for a year, and they hate each other massively.
That's more shocking. That's more oh my god.
But it doesn't make any sense story-wise. That all of a sudden they're buddies?
I didn't think the Kesha thing, I'm only going off the time I have. I didn't think they built it enough for me to care that he traded on him.
So, I'll give you that Takeshita's been a fan favorite babyface for a long time. That's another piece of it, that it's a big turn. Oh my god, we love Takeshita. How could he? Kind of thing. Well, you can just take my word for it. It was awesome.
Yes. There it is. There it is. That's all you need to know. It was awesome.
Yeah.
You'll have to take our words for it. But an amazing show. The whole Double or Nothing thing I thought was just an incredible experience.
Now,
and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that I went, Boots. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was a good time. And before we kind of wrap up or make any other discussions, we all predicted the Elite would win the Anarchy in the Arena, so none of us get any points. However, there was one more prediction that was made.
Oh, no. I hope we forgot.
And it was worth 5 points.
Oof.
I don't remember it being that many.
It was 5.
Well, we can make it worth 0 if you want.
No, wait.
No.
The question was, will CM Punk show up at Double or Nothing for 5 bonus points? I said, yes, he will. Coltrane said, yes, he will. Tex said, no, he will not.
Oh!
Which gives Tex 5 bonus points for the win.
For the win! Tex got it.
But otherwise I would have won. Just FYI.
As soon as I saw the 4 Pillars match, was it the main event? I was like, he's not.
That's exactly what I told Colt. As soon as I saw that, I knew.
Right. Right. That's exactly what he said to me as well. Oh my gosh. I can't believe Tex won. Tex won it.
Yeah. You know what, though? When I made that prediction, I said I'm going with my gut against my better judgment because I feel like it's the right call, even if I don't think it is the call they'll make. So I gladly take this loss.
That's true. There it is. Well done, Tex.
All my years at WWE has finally paid off.
Yes.
Man, CM Punk screws AEW again.
Once again, I hate this guy. I still have yet to see him wrestle. I don't know who he is. Sick and tired of this guy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're going to see him soon enough because we are, what's today, the 29th? We are going into June, and June is the debut of Collision. We're going to see CM Punk this month. And that's a good segue to sort of what we're going to do with this show moving forward because we have finished our initial program. The whole idea was that we're going to watch Dynamite every week. We're going to go to Double or Nothing, and we're going to talk about it, which we've done. So now what the hell are we going to do? Well, we've talked a little bit about it, and I don't have it in stone what we're going to do every week for the rest of this month. I know a lot of folks who listen to this who are friends of mine, and even some people who aren't friends of mine but just enjoy the show have reached out and said they'd love to do a guest spot on the show. Send me your pitch. Let us know where you're coming from, what you know about wrestling, and what you think you could contribute to. And if I can find a way to fit it in, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely.
I want to get guests on this show, and eventually we'll be so big that we don't have time for the little people. But right now we are the little people.
we are the little of the little people of the little people. Yeah. That's where we're at right now.
So let me. Because I don't think I'm going to remember to reach out back to all the people that reached out to me at one point or another in the last couple months. So let me just put out a blanket statement, which will also mean that like the people that are actually listening to the podcast will be the ones that are hearing this. Yes. If you have considered yourself a wrestling expert and think you have something to contribute to an episode of the podcast, send me send an email to theshoeboots@gmail.com. Let me know what you'd like to talk about. Let me know where you're coming from. If you have any content that you've done before, let me know about it. And this is going to be really informal. This isn't like some big audition, but depending on what we get in, I'll see what I can put together, see what works. If I don't get to you, it doesn't mean that I don't like you. We're just going to like see what we can fit in and have some fun with variety for a couple weeks, because the plan is what we're going to do is we're going to do essentially what we've done with AEW for WWE. We're going to watch it every week, and we're going to lead up to a major pay-per-view, which the next one is SummerSlam, and then we're gonna talk about it. Now, I don't think we're going to SummerSlam, although you guys are welcome to. I'm tapped out. I don't even know where it is this year.
Detroit.
Well.
Hey, whoa, easy.
Sorry,
all right? Jeez, Detroit. I think Detroit is a wonderful and beautiful place.
I'm sure it's great, but if you're taking a vacation this summer and have one city to choose,
right,
it might be a tough sell.
It might not be Detroit.
Right. Yeah,
yeah, that's valid. Come on, kids, we're going to Detroit.
We're going to Detroit.
Right. That's fair. That's fair.
Have you ever seen a bulletproof Jack in the Box?
Oh,
So
come on.
all right. So if you so just shoot me an email, and if I don't get to you now, or if we come up with something else, I'll keep it, and we'll try to get to you when we can. But I'd love to. I really want to feature community when I can on this show. So that's out there. Now, the reason we're doing that right now is because SummerSlam is not the next pay-per-view for WWE. Money in the Bank is. And I just don't think it's a fair shake for WWE to make Coltrane watch WWE while it's still building to Money in the Bank. We should start watching immediately after Money in the Bank, and then we'll build up to SummerSlam.
We start at Money in the Bank, but we'll talk about that.
Ooh.
Start at a pay-per-view? Okay, we can talk about that.
I like that. And listen, man, this is Tex. All right, you were the AEW guy. We got to slow down here, Boo. This is Tex's time to shine. This is WWE now.
I'm not opposed.
It's their time to shine, right?
I'm not opposed. We can talk about it.
All right, I'm just saying. Yeah. This is Texas time right now.
So one thing we will do though is I think that the week that Collision comes out, we should definitely all watch it and talk about that week. But that'll be before Money in the Bank, so that won't interfere with this plan.
Gotcha. Yeah. I will admit, I'm excited to check out WWE. Yeah. I've been seeing AEW. It's my first time in 30 years. I want to see what's been going on with WWE over the years. You know, when I watched it was WWF. Yeah. It was the Wildlife Foundation. And now I'm interested to see what's happened to it now. So I got to admit, I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. So here's our dilemma, and we don't have to figure out this dilemma now, but WWE has 2 main shows, not just one, for a total of 5 hours of viewing a week, which is a lot. And I'm not sure, and I think the 3 of us need to talk about it. If you out there have opinions, feel free to give them. What makes more sense? Do we ease Colton, making him watch one of these shows? Do we tell him to muscle through doing both? There's pros and cons, right? It could burn him out, or it might be better to have him see everything. So I think these are going to be ultimately Tex's decisions because it's his goal to get Colt to love WWE. But for now, I think what's going to make sense is that we're not going to get into watching it weekly yet, but I think it's time for Colt to get his feet wet.
All right. Well, this sounds like let's not hurt the baby. Let's guide along the baby. That's what it sounds like. We don't want the baby to get upset.
I'm just being
We don't want the baby to watch too much wrestling. That's what it sounds
for the
like.
Record, you have been free to watch as much wrestling as you want this entire time.
I have not been allowed to watch any WWE until possibly coming up. So I'm looking forward to finally watching it.
All right, here's what we're going to do.
I'll watch it all. You want 20, 30 hours, 40 hours? Bring it on. Let's do it. Let's get crazy.
You can watch all the WWE you want and have been allowed to for some time now. But Tex, we spoke earlier. You are going to assign him the one WWE show this week that he has to watch, that we will all watch and talk about next week.
And I'm going to start with you, Tex. Whatever you say, I will do in regards to wrestling. All right, in regards to wrestling.
This is tough because there is negatives and positives on both.
Yes.
Raw, you have Cody Rhodes. You have Seth Rollins. You have, for the most part, that's where Sammy and Kevin Owens is supposed to be. But it's 3 hours. There's a lot of filler content there. And 3 hours is a long time for anything. Now, then you got SmackDown. You got Roman Reigns, who people want to argue, but he's the #1 wrestler right now.
Yeah.
You have Austin Theory, who's the lower guy, which Imperium on the Raw side, who I like even more. But it's only 2 hours. So my decision here, I think you should watch SmackDown.
All right.
The reason is,
yes,
Roman is supposed to make appearances and is supposed to be on here this week. And in wrestling, Shu might disagree with this. His storyline right now is the best in wrestling. It's gone on a little long, but they just brought more light into it, so it's going to be better.
It was the best.
The 2 other people they have some of the best tag teams on SmackDown, the Usos. I mean, they're seamless and they're really good. I think it's hard to explain, but I feel like they try a little harder on SmackDown because
Right.
in the company order, they are the B show. It's just the way it is. Raw's been around for 30 years. So SmackDown is the B show, even though it gets higher ratings just because of the channels. I think that's the more clean show. That's a good show to get you into, and you get the best storyline in wrestling. So that's my choice.
And Makes sense. Baby's happy. Baby's happy.
And I think LA Knight's on the SmackDown roster.
Oh, LA. See, there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
It took me a second because they just swapped a little bit. I was like, wait, Gunther is over here now. I was like, dang, that's one I really like him to see. But
all right, SmackDown it is. I'm excited.
So yeah, SmackDown Fridays on Fox, or if you have a Peacock subscription, it's on there if you want to do the streaming thing.
Excellent.
And I'm glad you made this choice because I think that even though I'm kind of with you, like I think my favorite WWE guys are on Raw. I do think I agree with you. I think SmackDown's probably the better presentation, if for no other reason that like that's where the Bloodline storyline is. Yeah. Now, one thing that you should know, Colt.
I don't want any pre. I want to come in cold. Colt wants to be cold.
Okay.
Cold. I'm just saying, I don't want any pre-setup because I want to come in fresh, just like it did with AEW.
Okay.
Where at the beginning of AEW, I got these 4 guys out there with horrible mic skills. Some guy named Jungle Boy, he's terrible. Darby, I don't know what's going on. And then you start making all these excuses and all this pre stuff. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the pre.
I have said that I agree that Jungle Boy is not great on the mic. Disagree with you about Darby, by the way.
Well, no, I agree. Darby now, but also I love these guys now. But at that time, first going in cold, remember we had the big argument on scripted versus non-scripted, right? Yeah. This is the show, right? So now it's time for WWE. This is the show. This is the scripted. Yeah. So as a first-time viewer, I don't want any preamble. I don't want any prequel stuff. I want to go in cold and see the show. Let's see how it is.
I will say no more.
I'm excited.
We will all watch SmackDown.
The only thing I would recommend is at the very beginning of the show, they're going to do a pay-per-view recap. Make sure you watch it. It kind of give you a little bit of backstory.
I don't know if I guess. All right.
You'll need it.
What do you think, Shu? Do I watch the pre?
You just spent 5 minutes telling me I'm not allowed to tell you anything.
I know, right? And then here I am.
You know what I was going to tell you? You know what I was going to tell you?
You're going to say no.
No, I was going to tell you that you should know that there was a pay-per-view over the weekend. So you might want to know a little bit about what just happened going in.
No, but I don't.
Can I give you good news?
I'm not going to watch the preamble text. I'm not. I'm going in cold and fresh, just
it'll be on the show. It'll be on the show.
It'll be on the show.
One thing
I'm going to look away.
One thing you'll quickly realize about WWE that's very different than AEW is they spend a lot of time catching people up to their story.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because they're
Isn't that an idea?
Yeah, it is an idea that is awesome for people that are casual and horrible for people that watch regularly.
Oh, I see. All right. So we don't want to do that thing that brings in the most amount of people, right? We want to just cater to the smaller percentage that's super hardcore. Okay. All right, good.
Yeah. No. Do you want fickle fans that'll tune in once in a while en masse, or do you want to make something special that those who know?
Or do you want this much money? Or this much money?
Yeah, because fickle fans and hardcore fans pay the same ticket price. I'm just saying they're both paying the same price for tickets.
I mean, if you're making the argument that Marvel makes the best movies, then you can make that argument. But I think that that's patently false.
I'm not. I'm making the argument that make the most money. Yeah, I'm not making the best movies.
Are you watching it because it makes the most money? Or are you watching it because it's the best wrestling? Right. Are you like, I want to be, I don't care how good the wrestling is. I just want to watch whichever one's making the most money, which frankly, I think deep down, that's how a lot of WWE wrestler fans feel.
I think that's a different take on what I was saying. I think that I am going on what can appeal to the most amount of people, right? That can get people fired up, get caught up with what's going on so they can enjoy what they're watching, right out of the gate. That appeals to the most amount of people, which is a win, right?
It depends. How are you willing to appeal to the most amount of people at the cost of your most loyal fans?
by doing a catch-up preamble? I'm only talking about a catch-up for pay-per-view.
Why don't you get a little stopwatch app going and you just start the timer every time they flash back this Friday. Let's rack up how many minutes of your 2 hours are them showing you stuff that already happened.
I see what you're saying. I'm just saying if AEW does well, we all do well. WWE does well, we all do well, right?
Sure.
Right.
And this is the argument of scripting versus non-scripting. So I'm interested to see what a scripted show looks like if it presents better to a new viewer, if it presents well. Because AEW, to me, did not present that well as a new viewer. However, now I'm obsessed with AEW, and I love AEW.
I think
it's in my bones.
I think that's a separate issue. Like, I think WWE versus AEW will present better to a new viewer depending on... Well, first of all, it could be, I mean, you had a bad luck week. If you look at all the weeks we watched AEW, you started on probably the worst week we could have picked in terms of putting on an episode that would capture you out of the gate.
Funny how that always seems to happen, Boots. I'm telling you, that's just it. Well, basically,
do you disagree?
No, well, it was awful as a new viewer, but I'm saying that should never happen. You have to assume that every episode there's a brand new viewer watching. Every episode, every show needs to be amazing.
No, but I agree. But this is why everyone remembers Saturday Night Live as such a funny show. And when you go and watch the reruns, you only actually like about 20% of it. Is because you that's the point. You try your damnedest, and you're going to screw it up sometimes. It was a bad choice for them to open that show that way, and it is interesting that it was your first show because it's an example of exactly what you're talking about. It was a miss.
It was a total miss.
It was a miss. But they don't
the
normally do that.
WWE normally opens their show like that. So you'll be able to see what real talkers can do to open a show.
This is going to be great. We're already arguing. I haven't watched a frame one.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
It doesn't matter. They're going to open the show with like an 8-minute recap of the pay-per-view. So
then probably 15 minutes of Roman walking out. So there's half your time.
And then 18 commercial breaks.
Dude, would you listen to Boots here? Boots sounds just like Texas did about AEW. I love this. I love this. This is fantastic.
Pretty sure it's the same amount of commercial breaks.
It is.
Okay.
This is why I tune into this show.
I believe it is.
I tune in. This is why I'm right here dead center between you guys. I'm trying to keep you guys both at bay. All right? This is why I tune in, for you two.
It just feels like more commercials with WWE because when they're back from commercial, they're still showing you commercials within the show for their crap they're trying to hawk.
Oh, boy.
Because they have crap people want, unlike AEW.
What are you talking about? I got this awesome shirt.
Have you seen his turnbuckle?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It doesn't look authentic, though. It doesn't look real. It doesn't look
turnbuckle?
Authentic.
It's a mini turnbuckle. It's just
right.
they had the real one for sale at the show. It was much bigger. But
it was they?
When it was signed by all the wrestlers, it was $200. I was tempted.
That's cool.
I was tempted. In my mind, I was like, $200 is actually kind of reasonable for a turnbuckle signed by all the wrestlers.
True.
I didn't buy it. Sadly, I kind of regret that. All right, we should wrap it up. This show's gone way long, but I don't regret it for a minute. But we do need to end the show. Any final thoughts about Double or Nothing, Colt?
Awesome show. Amazing seeing it in person. One of the best things I've seen in my lifetime. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really is. If you haven't had a chance to go to an event, I guarantee you it's worth it. Splurge. Get the best seats you can. Email Shoe Boots to tell you exactly where to sit. He knows where the good seats are. theshoeboots@gmail.com. He will help you. He will guide you. And it was an unforgettable experience. And I am so happy on so many levels. It was an incredible weekend. Incredible weekend. Just incredible.
As a grumpy viewer at home, Tex, any final thoughts on Double or Nothing? Keeping in mind that you had a lot of positive things to say about it match by match.
Yeah, it was like there was a lot of wrestling this weekend. We had AEW, WWE, we had NXT, and there was other ones. I watched so much wrestling this weekend, and I will say AEW wasn't the worst, but everyone's saying NXT was the best.
I heard good things about the NXT show.
All those were free. And
they weren't free.
AEW cost me $50.
They were with your subscription.
Hey, $15, $50. So WWE's better.
$15 a month. AEW has 4 pay-per-views a year. Math time, go.
My stepdad.
All right, easy, boys. Easy. All right, easy, easy. Easy, boys.
My father-in-law pays it, so it's okay.
Okay, well, that doesn't count.
What?
For me, it does.
Oh, it's way better because I'm pirating it. Like,
right, the old father-in-law clause. Right.
Just just pirate AEW next time. I'm not endorsing that.
No,
okay.
Don't.
All right.
Don't do that.
My final thoughts is it was awesome. This was my first AEW show. It won't even be my last AEW show this year. I can't wait for Collision to come to Calgary, and I hope it's a big, fun show. Really excited for the new directions of AEW, and I'm actually, as much as I like to poo-poo on WWE, I do watch it, and I'm actually looking forward to talking about it with Colt, and I will do my damnedest to be fair, as I think ultimately, by and large, Tex has been with AEW. So, I see you raising your hand.
Before I just want to know, what was your favorite match?
Oh. I loved the 4-way, the 4 pillars 4-way, and it's either that or I'm a mark for a battle royal, man. I loved the battle royal. Like, it was just awesome.
It was. Mine is the 4-pillar match. That was my favorite match. MJF, incredible. I really appreciated the pacing, the choreography, and I even talked to you about that, Boots, as we were walking out. I was like, man, the pacing of that, the choreography, like, I just absolutely, it flowed so well. That match just flowed so well.
Yeah.
My favorite is the FTR match. It's being a jaded wrestling fan, you don't pop as much as you used to. That I actually popped so loud, I woke my kid up. It was a big disaster. But for some reason, that match has got me, and I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
It was great, and I definitely would give that one the points for the match being what match was better than you thought it would be the most is no contest. It was FTR versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for listening. We know it's been a long episode, but of course it needed to be. If you have any messages to send, please send them to theshoeboots@gmail.com, or you can tweet me at theshoeboots. And I think that that's going to do it for us. Let's get out of here, guys. We'll see you next week. We plan to record at our regular Sunday night time. For now, that's going to do it for me, for Colt, for Tex. Later, losers.